Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. More specifically, another Royal Rumble review. Now, we are still, of course, in the month of January, so because of that, we are looking at Royal Rumble matches, both matches that happened at the Royal Rumble but aren't necessarily Rumble matches themselves, and Royal Rumble matches is as well the actual match. You know what I mean. And this one is one of the latter. Now, the pandemic era of WWE was weird. It was a very weird time. It was a strange time. Honestly, the pandemic era as a whole was very weird. It still feels like we haven't fully recovered from it. That's because in a lot of ways we haven't. It's still very much ongoing. It's just not as bad as it used to be. Arguably, some would say it might be worse, but nevertheless, the pandemic era, especially for WWE, was weird. But the show has to go on, I guess. So, this is one of the two Royal Rumble matches that took place in the Thunderdome, and this time the women are up. I will probably review the men's at some point. It's not logged for this year. It didn't quite make the cut for this year. Maybe next year. Maybe some other time down the line. But for now, it's the ladies' turn. So, what would happen when not only do we have a Royal Rumble in the Thunderdome? Excuse me, but the actual Rumble winner turns out to be a new major rising star. Let's find out. I'm of course talking about the women's Royal Rumble match from 2021. Now, of course, as always, I am not professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I did a pretty alright time with this match. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works, or at least you have an idea of how this works. If you haven't, however, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. In terms of how we got here, it's the Royal Rumble. 30 women this time will enter. Go over the top, both feet touching the floor. There was a point in time where, and not necessarily Royal Rumble matches, but in Battle Royals where the women went through the middle rope, and they were eliminated. But nope, now it's right over the top rope, just like the men, and somebody is going to punch their ticket to WrestleMania and face for one of the championships. Now, I do wonder if we'll ever have a Rumble where they don't go after the championships. It's kind of expected. In fact, it's kind of in the rules now that you go after a championship once you win the Royal Rumble. Well, it wasn't always like that. For the first two Royal Rumbles, I think the 1990 Royal Rumble. Well, was the first one to have the stipulation of if you win, you get a championship opportunity, or in the case of the 92 Rumble, if you win, you get the championship. But I believe 1990 was the first that we saw that. For the other 2 years, 1989, 1988, if you won the Rumble, you just won the Royal Rumble. Well, like if you won the Rumble, you pretty much just it was pretty much a participation trophy in a way. Pretty much saying, hey, you did it. It's pretty much you essentially got a glorified sticker in a way. Hey, it's pretty much the equivalent of you win a contest or something like that, and you got like a sticker, or instead of like an actual like tangible prize. But that eventually, over the years, that would not be the case. But I wonder if they'll ever go back to that. Do I think they should? Absolutely not. But I do wonder if that will be the case. Like I said, I hope. But nevertheless, I am droning on. Getting back to the match here, starting with what I liked, the field of competitors. There's a lot of future stars, a lot of stars in the making. And admittedly, some that would be a little awkward in hindsight. The only reason I say that is because quite a few of these people would end up being released these later on as part of budget cuts. Some would even come back to be released again in some cases. And some of them would end up in AEW. So like you have Ruby Riott in here, who would go on to be Ruby Soho. Oh, in AEW, you had Ember Moon, who would go on to be Athena. You had who else? Um, there was another one. Another one that I was going to point out. I think Santana Garrett was also in AEW for a cup of coffee as well. But and of course, and Tony Storm, or that was the other one I was going to bring up. Of course, timeless Tony Storm. Or so in terms of that, admittedly, it's one that you look back on, you're like, wow. Oh, oh yeah, yeah. Santana Garrett would be in AEW, but it was very, very brief. But as a field you look back on, you're like, ugh. But that's kind of how it was. So some of these people wouldn't even be in the company by the next year. They would be released, unfortunately. But otherwise, it's a decent mix. Some of them being called up from NXT. You had people like Rhea Ripley, he and Dakota Kai, Shotzi Blackheart being called up as well. Well, cool in that regards. You also had some returns. You had Jillian Hall and Victoria and Alicia Fox making their return in this match. I would say Tori Wilson, but by that point she was already kind of really affiliated with WWE and everything. She was already in the Hall of Fame. She had been in the prior Women's Rumble, so not too surprising to see her, but was cool seeing some of the other ones. And 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 oftentimes, as you see in the Rumble, there are a lot of Rumble moments. There are some funny moments, including Billy Kay trying to pass off her headshots. I was around that time where she was handing out the headshots, and the thread for the first like the first several entrants and up until Jillian Hall was she was trying to get people to form an alliance with her in the Rumble match, and she had not really entered the ring yet, but a lot of people kept blowing her off. Shotzi Blackheart shot a ball at her through her tank, and she was pushed down by Shayna Baszler. Or had the thing punch, and she was pushed down by Hazler, and Tony Storm wanted nothing to do with her either. Her ultimately Jillian Hall comes out. She does sing, unfortunately, but she comes out and she's she's like Jilly and Billy. I love it. So they kind of team up. We do get an Iconics reunion when Peyton Royce comes in the ring, a team that should never have broken up, and I will die on that hill. So there's that moment. We even get a 24/7 championship moment after Alicia Fox comes in. Our Truth then comes in, followed by by the other wrestlers who would chase him around with the 24/7 for the 24/7 championship. If Alicia Fox pins, so she becomes 24/7 champion, and then she gets eliminated eventually, and then R-Truth pins her again and runs off again. Admittedly, the 24/7 championship, very much a joke title, very much a jobber title, but man, it had some fun moments, especially with R-Truth and all of his escapades with the championship and everything, pretty much being the modern day equivalent of Crash Holly. But yeah, plenty of moments just like that. There also are quite a few story threads. They keep a lot of the stories going, and admittedly, and I guess this is kind of a gray area in a way. It's good that they're keeping the consistency, but there are a lot that try to cram in terms of story. We see Lana return. She comes in at number 26, and we see her battling against Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler. Ultimately, he she eliminates Nia Jax, but then she gets beaten up by Jackson Baszler. Charlotte Flair comes in. She's number 15. And at number 18, Lacey Evans comes in. And this is around that time. I forgot it was this time they were doing that, where she was in a relationship question mark with Ric Flair, and Ric Flair coming out. Oh, and it was explained that Ric Flair cost Charlotte and Asuka the tag titles on the pre-show. They lost them to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. But he comes out, and then Lacey Evans comes out, and she's wearing the exact same robe that Charlotte Flair wore down to the ring. Admittedly, A, that was pretty funny. B, somehow not as weird as when people like AJ Styles wore Ric Flair's robe when they were paired together in TNA. Hey, so had that going. This storyline, though, ultimately ended once Lacey Evans got pregnant, and apparently, the rumor was that Ric Flair was supposed to be revealed as the father, which would have been absolutely nuts. But yeah, I forgot it was around that time. And you do get Alexa Bliss, who comes in. She comes out to the Firefly Funhouse theme, and there is a moment where she kind of charges up, and how the screens flicker and everything. But Rhea Ripley's having none of that. She's like, nope. Oh, she's seen the horror movies. She knows you gotta defeat the villain before they charge up. So he pretty much dumps out Alexa Bliss, and there's moments such as that. Which speaking of which, Rhea Ripley is in for quite a bit. She comes in at number 14. She's in for 39 minutes. It's which is crazy. We got a few kind of Iron Man performances. Rhea Ripley's in for 39 minutes. Charlotte Flair's in for 33 minutes, and it's Naomi is in for 47 minutes, and it's she and Bailey start off, and Bailey I guess that's one dislike I'll get out of the way early. A, just in case I forget, and B, before I make the next point, which is Bailey essentially getting eliminated off screen. I believe it was while, oh, it may have been while, oh, oh, I'm trying to get the exact one, but something else was happening on the other side of the screen, and then meanwhile, Bailey's just kind of thrown out, and they show it on the replay, which does suck. But ultimately, the final three does come down to Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair, which Bianca she is in for 56 minutes. Which is very impressive. She comes in at number 3, and she is like cleaning house. Oh, she's involved with several spots. There is a cool spot where her and Naomi almost get eliminated, and Naomi's feet doesn't hit the floor. She kind of took over Kofi's role of surviving in the Rumble, and he and Bianca are kind of pummeling each other, but they're both like hanging kind of like that, but with their feet still in the ring. And Naomi's like, "Wait, we gotta work together to like bring ourselves up," because Naomi's also like hanging on to Bianca's braid. So they kind of pull themselves up. So there was that moment, but having the final three be Rhea Ripley Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair, I think was a very smart choice. And having the final two be Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, with them both eliminating Charlotte Flair, was also really good. And that really, I think, made quite a statement. And of Charlotte Flair being eliminated, she won the previous year, getting her out of the way, and then really showcasing the future. Because by this point, Rhea Ripley is still technically a part of the NXT roster. She would pretty much be more integrated into the main roster as the months would go on in 2021. Meanwhile, Bianca Belair was now part of the roster. She was helping out the Street Profits and everything, so she's there. Plus, it also plays up on their kind of mutual history in NXT. But to have those two be the last two, I think was a very smart choice, and it really like snapshots the future of the company in terms of the women's division. Because as look at like them here in 2021, and then jump to present day. Hey, by this point, both women were women's world champions, both really taking over the division. Bianca is out currently at the moment due to injury, which is a pretty gnarly injury. Meanwhile, Rhea Ripley, through her dominance and through like the Judgment Day, pretty much rising to the top of the women's division. She's currently women's tag team champions with Io Sky. So, to see that there 5 years later is pretty awesome to see. But we see them go back and forth until ultimately Bianca Belair does pick up the win and wins the Royal Rumble. So the EST NXT has won the Women's Royal Rumble, which I think very smart move, very awesome move. And yeah, the build between her and Sasha Banks after the fact may not have been the greatest, but in the moment, not only the moment, and I guess the match itself at Mania 37, which I reviewed a while ago. If you haven't already, go check out that review. But in that moment, I think very awesome choice, very wise choice, and pretty much getting the stamp of approval saying this is the future, which I think was really awesome, really cool to see. In terms of what I didn't quite like as much about the match, I kind of highlighted the Bailey one. I do wish some of the other people got a little bit more time to shine in the Rumble. Like Dakota Kai only lasts about 2 minutes. Ember Moon only lasts about 2 minutes as well. Oh, about minute 51. So just shy of the 2 minute mark. I wish we got a little bit more for some of the people. And the Alexa Bliss elimination was also pretty goofy. Otherwise, it's a pretty decent Rumble and a nice snapshot of the future in a lot of ways. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every single time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the match, my review of the match. If you like the match, you'd like my review of the match, let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.